Hello. Varun Beverages has been struggling very recently. Here we have the quarterly reports of the company. As you can see, we have the sales and the year on year sales growth. Now you can see December 2023, 20% sales growth. January 2024 quarter, 28% sales growth. However, we come here and you see in the June quarter and the September quarter of the year 2025, minus 2.4 sales growth, only 1.9% sales growth in the recent quarter, most recent quarter. And look at the quarters before it, 28%, 38%. So this is a stark difference in the growth rate the company experienced earlier and now what it is experiencing. Why is it experiencing though? The reason are early monsoons. Hold up. Yes. How did early monsoons affect Varun Beverages? Early monsoons negatively impacted Varun Beverages by causing a drop in sales volumes during the key summer quarter as rains disrupted peak demand for their products. Early and unusual heavy rains in India led to a 7% decline in domestic sales volumes. Okay, the peak summer sales were disrupted. So early monsoons caused this decline. So the question comes, how are they dealing with this decline? And in the latest phone call, management of the company has said some interesting things. So we will look at these things and see how is everything going on, the future outlook of this company. So first is the statement in black. As soon as the weather changes, we can grow in double digits. For example, if you look at October for the next quarter, we are growing at double digits. So Warren Beverages management has confirmed that the company achieved double-digit volume growth in India in October 2025. So as soon as the rains normalized, rains were not even that good in October 2025, but as soon as the rainfall conditions became a little better, the company instantly achieved a double-digit volume growth in October. Early months were bad, that's why the quarter itself was bad, but October, like September was bad, but October did very well as soon as the rains did a little better. So let's continue. Let's continue. Then for the Africa market. Okay, Africa is a huge next market for them. So for the Africa market, they have set some statements. The growth in Africa is coming back. The challenge earlier was in Zimbabwe. The prices had gone up and consumption dropped slightly because of the sugar tax. Now Zimbabwe has started growing again. Morocco is doing well for us, and South Africa is doing extremely well with mid double digit growth. Going forward, with the backward integration and all, we see South Africa become an important part for territory in Africa. So South Africa is doing very well, mid double digits growth. Morocco is doing well. Zimbabwe was early struggling and has now started growing again. Whatever issues were there, solved. Then beer market in Africa. Okay, so we're talking about introducing the beers, selling beers, and distributing beers in Africa. It becomes much easier and expandable without an extra expense. So expanding beer market, the beer products in Africa is much more easier and expandable without extra expense when compared to Indian market. So introducing beers in India is much more harder. Continuing, there is huge scope on that, the African beer market. In most of the countries, there are individual players running the beer industries in the country. It is a golden opportunity for us, and we are going to test the market. And as soon as we see the test coming right, we will go forward with it. So they're currently testing the market and they say there's a huge scope for them. Then let us continue. How are the growth coming along? The growth figures, the growth drivers. For the Indian market, they have said we are at such low per capita consumption of soft drinks that in the next 5 to 6 years, 5 to 10 years, next 5 to 10 years, this market may double or triple. No one knows. There is huge room, and we only see positive in this. So even in Indian market, we see a lot of future potential. Then continuing on the October statement, October double digits growth, I've clarified a bit. Well, the weather still has not been the best, but despite that, whatever we have had a break in the weather conditions, we have grown in double digits. even after having bad weather in certain regions. Of course, weather is beyond our control, but as soon as we see a break in weather, things look positive, and there's no reason why we should not expect double digit growth going forward. So they have said, despite having bad weather in certain regions, they're able to grow double digits in volumes in the month of October. Latest results were for ending September quarter. So the quarter ending September 2025, talk about October 2025, the monsoons became a little better and see what double digit volume growth. There is no reason why we should not expect double digit volume growth going forward. Why? Because monsoons are gonna go away. It's not the monsoon season. Then finally, questions have been asked by analysts, literal analysts, equity analysts, and answers have been given. Question here I have taken for the growth. We're discussing the growth. We will have questions and answers on growth. So first question is, hi sir, my question is on the international business. We have done a sales growth of around 7% in the international this quarter. This includes some part of foods also. Okay, so organically it might be a tad lower. The ambition, and I think what the investors also sort of expect is like early to mid teens kind of growth from the international business. So is there anything, any particular geography, etc., which is pulling this down? Or is that expectation itself not sort of reasonable? So as a summary, analyst is asking the expectation from Varun Beverages is that the international business should grow around early to mid teens kind of revenue growth, but it grew only around 7%. So will it actually grow mid to early to mid teens, or will it not? Answer is no. We think double digit in mid teens is realistic for Africa. Realistic. Two things which pulled down this year, especially in the last two quarters. One was Zimbabwe, which the sugar tax came, and because of which the price had gone up and volumes dipped initially. We have since recovered, and September onwards, we are back to double digit growth in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was struggling. Whatever problems there were, they're back. Warren Beverages is back in Zimbabwe, double digit growth since September. Other was DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Initially, we have made some errors which affected us for the last few quarters, but now it has bounced back. And for next year, we don't see any challenge in the team's growth. That is what management had said. That for next year onwards, we don't see any challenges for growing in the teens, 10% plus. I think so, 10% plus. Yeah, teens, 10% plus in the DRC market, Democratic Republic of Congo market. Then another question has been asked regarding growth. Right, sir? Right, sir. Not just Africa subcontinent, but international as a whole. How fast do you think we can come back to see 13 to 15% revenue growth number for the entire international segment, not just Africa? Majority of the international is actually Africa. So majority of it is Africa. Nepal, Sri Lanka are doing well and are growing reasonably. Nepal, Sri Lanka would grow like India is growing. And finally, understood. So in 1 or 2 quarters, we should be at least at the early teens revenue growth kind of mark. Yes, hopefully from the next quarter. Okay, summary. That is the end of the video actually. But summary, monsoons are going away. So already double-digit revenue growth in October. African markets, whatever problems were there earlier, have now getting solved, and they are seeing double-digit growth and expecting double-digit growth, teens growth, early to mid-teens growth in many markets. And beer, they were earlier distributing, like buying from the original manufacturer and just selling. So they were earlier distributing packaged water, soft drinks, beverages like that. They're expanding now into beer. The Indian market will be a bit tougher because of many restrictions, but the African market, in terms of distributing beer, is much more scalable easily without much of an expense. So the beer distributing beer products in Africa is going to be a big market for them. So that is it. That was the video. Varun Beverages, let us see if they can actually succeed in. Oh, that was not to be seen. Hold up. Okay. Yeah, that was not to be seen. Should I make a new one? Or should I continue with this? Yeah, I'll continue with this.